What's up everyone, it's Manny again. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to my cozy base camp. Today I've got another hangboarding tutorial for you, and the reason why this episode is called Review of Webb Parsons Hangboarding Program is because this method of hangboarding was originally promoted by Webb Parsons. For those of you who don't know the guy, he's a super strong climber from Australia, mainly known for his numerous achievements in bouldering. He explained this method in a video that was published on Vimeo over 3 years ago, and he claimed that this kind of training was the major reason for his outstanding finger strength. If you want to check it out, I'll give you the link in the description. Of course, I was super psyched when the video came out, and I immediately started to incorporate this kind of hangboarding into my training. And although I never followed his program 100%, I've definitely noticed some gains soon. But yeah, if you try something new, gains come relatively quickly. That's why I believe that as long as you're giving your body an adequate new stimulus, you will gain strength, no matter what you actually train. The only question is, and that's a tricky one, is this the most efficient and injury-preventing way to acquire these gains? Could you have progressed faster by doing something else? The tragical thing about this is that we will never know, as we can't go back in time to try something different for comparison. Keeping all that in mind, I can say that this kind of training helped me to progress, and I wanted to use the context of such a session to elaborate on a few things when it comes to hangboarding in general, and especially when it comes to one-handed hangboarding, just sharing my thoughts a bit. So this episode is definitely going to be interesting for advanced climbers who already have some hangboarding experience, as the described workout should only be done by advanced climbers, at least in my opinion, and my 2 cents on it are going to be very specific. Alright, so much for the intro. Now let me quickly explain the key elements of such a workout while I'm warming up in the background. All hangs are going to be performed one-handed. That means that for every hang you've got a training hand and an assisting hand. The training hand is going to hold onto an edge using the half crimp grip type, and the assisting hand is going to hold onto some static rope or similar in order to support the training hand as much as necessary to lift the whole body from the ground. In the video, Chris suggests that you should only use an edge which you can hang one-handed at least shortly, for 1 to 2 seconds, and that is the main reason why I believe that this kind of training should only be done by very advanced athletes. Hanging a medium hangboard edge of let's say 2 centimeters one-handed, that's freaking hard, even if you use the most aggressive training grip, the half crimp. Anyway, that's how you choose your edge. One session consists of 9 hangs per hand, which means 18 hangs in total. The first 3 hangs are going to be performed on a straight arm. As you can see in the background, I'm already at the first hang. The second 3 hangs are going to be performed on a slightly bent arm, and the third 3 hangs are going to be performed at a 90 degrees bent arm. Chris claims that by following this pattern one does not only gain finger strength but also significant arm and upper body strength. And this might be true, however, for me that's yet another reason why I'd recommend this training only for advanced athletes. Not only does it have a high impact on the fingers due to hanging in the half crimp one-handed, but it also has a quite high impact on elbows and shoulders, especially due to the 90 degrees bent position. So let's take a quick look at the timing. In between 2 hangs you should make a 3-minute rest. The duration of one hang depends on where you're at in the program, and is either 10 seconds, 5 seconds or around 2 seconds. I will explain that later. Let's interrupt the theory part and take a quick look how we can put this into practice. As you can see, I'm already at hang number 3 in my session, and I'm in the stage of the program where I need to hang for 10 seconds, so let's take a look at what that looks like. As you can see, almost straight arm. Why almost straight arm? The completely straight arm is quite wearing out your elbow a lot, so I wouldn't suggest to do that. Always at least bend your arm a little bit. And as you can see, I'm doing one hand after another. The starting hand of this hang is the finishing hand of the previous hang, just to have the perfect symmetry in my session. And here we go, finishing the second 10 seconds. Now I make sure that I brush my edge always and go to the stopwatch and activate the timer. Back to theory. One more thing I want to address is how these hangs should actually feel. Chris goes quite into detail in the video. The goal in each hang is to push your fingers to their maximum. So let's say your hang time is 10 seconds, as it's the case for me during this session. During these 10 seconds you should aim to let go of the assisting hand as much as possible. Now of course you won't go full gas in the first 2 seconds, because then your hang will be over after 3 seconds. However, the closer you get to the end of a hang, the more you have to let go of the assisting hand. At least that's how I understood it. Chris claims that this simulates the situation in climbing when we have to let go of one hand in order to reach for the next hold. However, sometimes it may happen that your hand drops into a 4 fingers open position during a hang. If that happens, you need to get back on the edge, half crimp style, and perform the remaining seconds of the hang. These sort of negatives of the fingers while dropping into the open grip are suggested to make your fingers super strong. As a side note, here's something I never fully understood about these sessions. If you're hanging for 10 seconds, should you go full gas from the beginning, drop off 3 times or more, or should you regulate your efforts in such way that you only drop off 1 or even 0 times? I mean, 10 seconds is a lot of room for different approaches. Of course it's different with the 2-second hangs, which should be maximum effort from the first millisecond on, obviously. So as you can see, there's still a little room for improvising. Let's take a quick look at practice again. I'm here in my 6th hang, which means that's my last repetition on the slightly bent arm. And as you can see, in a moment, when I'm switching hands, the longer my hang lasts, the more I try to let go of my assisting hand, in this case my left one. And if you pay close attention to my fingers, you can see how they slightly move into the 4 fingers open grip position. So that's what I mean here. These kind of negatives seem to be very useful when it comes to increasing your raw finger strength. One last thing we need to talk about regarding the Webb Parsons program is, well, the actual program on the bigger time scale. One training period consists of 12 weeks, and these can be further subdivided into 2 times 6 week blocks. Let's take a look at the first 6 weeks. During the first 2 weeks, your hang duration is going to be 10 seconds. During the 3rd week, your hangs are going to be 5 seconds. During the 4th week, they're going to be back to 10 seconds. And during the 5th week, they're going to be what he calls maximum, which means 2 to 3 seconds at full effort, I guess. During the 6th week, no sessions are performed, a little time for rest. The second 6 weeks are similar, with the only difference being that sessions of 5 and 10 seconds are inverted. So your weeks are going to be 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, maximum, rest. When 12 weeks are over, a new cycle begins. From a periodization point of view, I think this is a pretty smart approach, because you always start at a longer duration with lower intensity, moving towards extremely short duration with high intensity in week 5. As I've already mentioned in my periodization episode, these phases resemble the processes of gaining new muscle and strengthening it up, respectively. Alright, so now that we've covered all the specifics of the Webb Parsons hangboarding program, let me give you a few tips for advanced hangboarding, especially for one-handed hangboarding in general. First of all, if you're hanging one-handed for whatever reason, make sure you do it in a symmetric manner. Always do both hands, and also let the second hand of the previous hang be the first hand of the following hang. Secondly, mount your assisting ropes symmetrically. In the video, Chris uses only one rope, mounted laterally from the actual hangboard. This results in an asymmetric stimulus and should be avoided. Thirdly, make sure you use a wide edge or mobile assisting ropes, or both, in order to ensure that you have enough space to place your hands in an ideal distance every hang. This distance differs greatly depending on if you're doing the straight, the slightly bent, or the 90 degrees bent arm. One-handed hangboarding bears high risk of injury. Apart from taking care of your fingers, make sure you never hang in the fully straight arm, as this can cause elbow injury. Make sure you find an ergonomic position in the bent hangs by adjusting the distance between hands and by grabbing the assisting rope relatively high. Keeping the distance in height of your hands low reduces the risk of popping the neck out of place, which is often reported by people who train one-handed. A hangboard which is not surrounded by obstacles really helps to move your legs around while hanging. Again, be aware of your symmetry. If you need to meet certain hang and rest times, mount your stopwatch in such a way that you can see it also whilst hanging. Try to avoid counting seconds as your perception of time will change as the session progresses. Write down how many hangs you've already completed and which hand started, so that you can always be sure where you're at and what comes next. Brush your edge every time after a hang, otherwise it will get worse and worse and will give you a wrong perception of strength and progress. And finally, be sure that you're ready for it. Keep in mind that you could always train both-handed and add some weight or make the edge smaller in order to increase difficulty. The only advantage that one-handed hangboarding offers you, in my opinion, is that you can direct your full concentration towards one hand, which will ultimately increase the stimulus even further. And with these tips and suggestions, I want to end today's episode. I hope you got something from it. It was a little bit long and not so exciting from a visual point of view, I guess. But I hope I could make it as informative as possible, as always. And if you liked it, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more awesome content here on vegan rock climbing. And until then, thanks for watching and see you guys next time.